Hey, how's it going? Hope you're well. I've got some brand new brakes to fit. They're the Magura MT7 Pro with the new MDR-P rotor. They look pretty cool. They've sent for a few different brake levers, so I'm going to head over to Berkshire Cycles, we'll get them fit, then we'll head over to the Surrey Hills and I'll tell you what I think of them.
We'll head into one of my favourite bike shops in the world, Berkshire Cycles. They're going to fit them, and I've heard that they're actually not that bad to fit, but maybe quite difficult to bleed or set right, I don't know. So part of what I want to discover is how easy are they to fit to your own bike? Do you need to faff around? Do you need to struggle around with bleeding, or are they just fit, bleed, go out and smash it? So we'll get them fitted, talk to the guys, see how easy they are to fit and bleed. Then we'll head over to the Surrey Hills, go for a little blast. It's not got the biggest downhills or most amount of elevation, but it'll give me a good feeling what the levers feel like, what the modulation feels like, and how they are compared to the codes that I've had on pretty much all my bikes over the last few years. Here we go.
When you receive the brakes, they both come with long hoses, so they definitely need to be cut down and bled. Now, some bike shops might not be experienced with bleeding Magura brakes. Berkshire Cycles, though, have done a fair few. They do have a bit of a reputation that they're a bit more difficult. The bike store installed them pretty straightforward, using Magura's own mineral oil to bleed. We swapped out the levers for some of these sweet looking Loic Bruni levers. So with the brakes fitted, it was time to head to the trails and get them bedded in.
So here we are in the Surrey Hills. There is nothing around here that's like super steep, but there's a lot of kind of short, sharp descents that you end up getting on the brakes and then quickly flowing through the bend and then blasting it out again. I can already tell the brakes, the modulation, there's quite a lot of, from the bite point to where it would lock up the wheel totally, there's quite a lot of modulation in there. So some brakes I've used, you pull on and there's like a millimetre of play and then the wheel locks up, but these, there feels like quite a nice amount of modulation, so it's easy to gauge how much pressure you've got on the brake. I love these levers, these little Loic Bruni levers. They're quite stubby, but they don't like concave in so much that, I don't know, they just feel good. I think these ones are designed if you've got larger hands or longer fingers, so they kind of suit me really, really well. There is a little bit of noise from the back brake, there's a little bit of grinding, so I'm going to try and reset that caliper. But let's give it a little blast around here, give it a little test, and I'll let you know what I think.
Magura recommend that in order to bed the brakes in, that you get up to 20 miles an hour and come to a complete stop between 30 and 50 times. And after this, the pads and rotors are run in and they offer optimum braking power. I've got to say that after this bedding in procedure, the braking power offered by these MT7s is immense. Bringing your bike to a complete stop is heavily influenced by many things, including rider weight, suspension setup, tyre choice and tyre pressure. But having used the same setup on my Kenevo with another brake brand and moving over to these Maguras, the difference is immediately noticeable. Now, to be fair, my brakes that came off are a good few months old and have been used a lot, so it's always going to be noticeable moving to a brand new system. But I can honestly say they offer a huge amount of power, probably more than I need on these kind of trails, but it's always nice to have a bit more in the tank, right? Besides, I've got some big trips planned this year, so I'm sure they'll come into their own soon. I'm using the 203mm rotor, the same size as I was using before, and they do them up to a 230mm. But talking about rotors, let's take a look in a bit more detail at these ones. This is Magura's new rotor, and they call it the MDR-P, and they say it's suited to downhill bikes and e-bikes. It's a two-piece rotor and it tops their range for maximum braking power and heat resistance. Magura have a special patented feature here that they call dovetail interlink technology, which provides additional support for the black inner ring if the outer ring expands due to heat. Compared to other floating discs, the braking force is applied to the entire surface of the disc instead of just the rivets. Magura claim that the result is increased rigidity and better heat dissipation that performs better under continuous load. It's Magura's most powerful rotor in their collection and perfect for gravity use. The brakes use a one-piece, 4-piston caliper, which is made of forged aluminium. The single-piece manufacturing method means it has a super strong construction, and Magura claim that it's one of the strongest and most easily modulated brakes on the market.
So this is one of the steeper sections on this trail. It's actually not part of the trail. It's just like a little kind of cut through. I'm just going to ride down really slowly without locking the brakes up and try and modulate them to go as slow as I can. Oh yeah, it's got that kind of little ticking noise that I remember from before. You can just about hear it, but the amount of modulation that you've got is crazy. You can just make tiny little adjustments. And I know with many brakes, when you first get them, they feel really good. So it's not easy to compare brakes. It's like really subjective. Lots of people like lots of different things, lots of different ways of how they feel, but my experience of these is I use these brakes in the Alps, in the Alpe d'Huez, the Mega Avalanche track, and I really love them. And ever since that date, I've always thought I really want a set, because that's when a brake is really tested on a constant downhill, and you know, you're doing a 3,000 foot descent. So when you're doing like an epic descent, and your brakes are heating up and your levers are kind of going further and further away from the bar, you lose performance. But what I found with these when I used them when I was in the Alps is that they remained pretty much as good towards the bottom of the track compared to being right at the top. So, you know, that's quite significant. Like I said, it's really difficult to test brakes in the Surrey Hills, but I am on a 25 kilo bike. I weigh like 85 kilo, I've got a massive backpack. So I kind of need all the stopping power I can get. So far, I'm liking them.
So there we go, a couple of rides in now. They feel so good. The back one was making a bit of noise. It just sorted itself out. I think once the pad was bedded in, it fixed itself. Thank you very much, Magura, for allowing this video and making it happen. I will bring you a long-term test as soon as I can. If you're new to my channel, subscribe. I bring weekly e-bike videos, and I'll catch up with you all soon. Take care.